I grew up in Egypt, and I got a glimpse of Marvel comic books. It was like a very hot commodity. It's very easy. Yeah, like you have to trade your soul to get one of them. But we only got the superhero, the big guys. So we got Batman, we got Superman. I'm talking about DC, and then we got Spider-Man, and we got Iron Man. Like those few. But I never heard of Moon Knight. If that's one of the questions you're gonna ask, and but I've been a Marvel fan, and I've been dreaming about a day like this. This is big to someone who just like grew up in a small city in Egypt to be a part of probably the biggest story that ever was told in the world of cinema ever. So to be a part of that and bring something of your own is an honor, and I'm really happy about it. Um, the moment I read the script of the show, me and Sarah Gohar, who's my wife, my producer, my partner in everything, we decided this is for us. This is the project that we should pursue. And we put together this 200-page pitch um, that showed our passion about the project. And in a way, we felt like I know how to direct. We knew how to direct this all through. So we talked about location, tone, action, music, songs, visual themes, everything that you can imagine a director would do. Um, and the moment we finished it, I told Sarah, if we didn't get that job, something's wrong with the world. And um, ironically, we got the job, and it wasn't a surprise for me, even though I was dancing on the beach when I got the job, me and her and the kids. But that pitch is the show. 2 years later, that pitch became the show, and sometimes I just like go back to it, and I'm just so happy that Marvel allowed me to bring everything, every crazy idea I had to the show is there now. Um, what I love about Moon Knight is that it's very hard for you to capture the tone. The tone is actually a mix of a lot of things. The show has comedy, the show has drama, very serious drama. The show has action and horror. And one of the hardest challenges for me as a director is how to blend them all together and still feel coherent. And it doesn't feel like bits and pieces of genres. And I think, I hope we succeeded doing that. But if you ask me what's like the pitch, I would say like this is Indiana Jones meets Fight Club. One of the most important things that drew me to the project was that it's takes place in current Egypt, and it talks about Egyptology. And I've been very keen and onto how to depict that and how to share that with the world. It was very important. Every Egyptian sees himself portrayed in the world of cinema. Always sees himself. We call it the Orientalist way of seeing us, which means seeing us as exotic, and women are submissive, men are bad, and all the tropes that you would think of. So it was very important for me to have something completely different. I would tell you that my mom is the strongest person in my household. That's why Layla, the character, is a strong woman. All my movies, the women are actually stronger than men. My wife is the one who's running the family. So all those tropes, it was very important to break them. Was very important to show Cairo as Cairo, because a lot of times it's not even shot in Cairo. And a lot of times you see it when it's shot in Cairo, it's shot in a way that shows us as just like a desert city, like the pyramids and the desert, and shows us very primitive, even though if you just like panned a little bit, Egypt is in the middle. The pyramids are in the middle of 20 million people, Cairo, one of the biggest cities in the world, so urban, a place that has skyscrapers, everything that you would imagine in an urban, huge city that doesn't sleep. All that was very important for me, and all that was in the pitch. And I would say that Moon Knight is a first step, and hopefully, if there's another iteration, or if I'm involved in anything Moon Knight more, I would actually push it even to do that more. Marvel was very supportive from the get-go. Layla herself wasn't completely Egyptian at the beginning, and they allowed us to make her Egyptian. they got us the expert. They got us Egyptologist. Anything Egyptian. I was like Egypt police. Anything Egyptian, I told them they would push for it. We didn't shoot in Egypt, but they put a lot of effort and money into turning any place we shot in into Egypt, and no one would see the show and think this is not Egypt today. Um, as someone who's obsessed on showing Egypt the way it is, and I'm always coming from a place. I usually don't build sets. I always like to shoot on real locations. Working on this project was very challenging for me. Picking Stefania Sella, the production designer, was a bless. Having someone as energetic and a genius like her, I challenge her every day. I know how to every day tell her, like when I tell her, like always show her my fear of Egypt not being Egypt. Like I annoyed her, but she did a great job. When you see the Egyptian statues and the museum, Egypt, building Egypt in Hungary. Oh, she did such an amazing job. I'm so proud of everything that she has done, and I wish that I can work with her again, because she's an absolute genius. I would say the same thing about Megan, costume designer, because there was a lot of challenges. Lots of times when you see an Arab world, I know it all feels the same to someone from the West, but it's not. Even putting the veil, if you put it differently, you're from Syria. Putting differently, you're from Morocco. Put it differently, you're from Egypt. And each one of them is completely different culture. So Megan, Stefania, all my team, I don't want to forget anyone. Greg, the cinematographer, anyone who's saying that the show looks different, it's because of those great people. One of the things that really drew me to the show was portraying DID, which is dissociative identity disorder, previously known as multiple personality disorder. And I never get involved in a project unless I find the core, that the anchor that makes me as a human being want to tell that story. So I can stay with that project for 2 or 3 years of my life, give everything, sacrifice family time, sacrifice everything in my life. Usually in my films, they're about intimate stuff that happened to me or something that I'm really attached to. So I had to find that in Moon Knight, and DID was the thing. Shedding some light on the people who live the life, who have DID, seeing life through the disoriented as they live it. And that was a challenge as a director too. Putting in mind, even though Marvel provided us with the greatest advisors, and we tried as much as we can to handle it with as much respect as we can, this is not an accurate depiction. This is in a fantastical world. There's supernatural elements to it. But I would say I learned through this journey a lot about DID. And I think the audience are going to learn just like me. And I'm really proud of that. And by the end of the show, people are going to understand, like, it's not just like as I thought before getting into the show, that someone with DID would definitely have a hard life, but those blackouts and you can go on with your life. But no, even like the first episode, there's a scene when the Stephen is dating, and even the date has to go wrong, because it's hard to sustain a life when you have DID. It's not easy. I was lucky that the 3 main actors in the show, Oscar Isaac, Ethan Hawke, and Michael Amawi, are the people that usually wouldn't be associated with a project like this. In a way, just like me. So in a way, we were making our own independent movie. And the 3 of them are not here. Oscar just came from huge films, Star Wars, Dune, and X-Men. And Ethan, 35 years in the business, this is his first superhero film. He wanted to do something special. He wanted to prove that he's not here, not just because it's time. And definitely my presenting Egypt or the Egyptian character was something very important for her. So each one of them brought something to the table. They weren't just actors or someone who wanted figurines for them or being part of the Marvel universe. No. They were intellectual people. The story developed because of them. We had table reads. Each one of them was his character's best lawyer. And they were every day on the shoot, each one of them throws ideas and questions everything. And I think that's part of why we had one of the No, actually not one. It's the least amount of additional photography in the history of Marvel, which is 4 days. I think because we tried our best and it worked to develop the show even before the end. Usually Marvel never lets the show. I don't think they try. They always try their best to make every show the best. So whatever the show needs, even if it's 100 days of additional photography, they're gonna give it to them. So I'm proud that we only had 4, and I think because Marvel allowed us to develop as much as it's needed, and with those beautiful intellectual people, with the great writers, and with Sarah, my wife, who's a producer on the show, on board, that table really elevated the show. The best experience of my life, for sure, for me. And I would tell you that the reason I made Moon Knight was I identified with Stephen and Mark. I myself, I think in every human being, we have two things. We have the persona, the mask that we're putting, that we're showing people, and the real you inside of you. And your journey through life is to try to make those two people live together. And that's exactly Mark and Stephen's journey. And that's exactly what they're learning. And that's exactly anyone who's watching the show should learn from the show.